Pastor, I heard you saying that you are ready to die, put your life. I want to assure you that nobody can kill you until God says it's time for you to come home.
One of us reminded me of a statement that a pastor made in Nigeria where he said that if you are broke, you cannot speak for the body of Christ.
No matter how much preaching you do, if you are broke, you will not be able to speak for the body of Christ.
Indeed, Reverend Ezekiel Dashomo, even though not speaking for the body of Christ, but speaking for his community where he is from, and where he is feeling the pain of insurgency and insecurity happening in Nigeria, indeed, he is affecting the whole Nigeria as a terrain that even the US is having a voice in this. And that's what we are talking about today. Pastor FEMI Lazarus has been trending because of a video of his that has been making the waves as he comments on the recent conversation about Donald Trump, or would I say the United States of America, and the insurgency happening in Nigeria and ways to tackle it. He made some strong points, which is what I'm going to be looking at, and we are going to right here as a community give our opinions as to what we think, even though I'm discussing, or would I say leading the conversation. Here's a video of Pastor FEMI Lazarus.
There's been clamoring by America that they are killing Christians in Nigeria. Okay, it is not innocent. It is not innocent. When Goodluck Jonathan was in power, Nigeria needed to buy certain things to use in fighting that battle. The one who blocked us was America. We got machineries from a country, I don't want to mention that country, that was busy, and they were having victories in Sambisa, all the places. The one who asked them to be sacked later was America. They are showing interest because they know that will divide the country. Then they can come in. Anywhere they step bonds. Any country that is richer than, in terms of mineral resources, than any country in Africa, it is Venezuela. Anywhere there is wealth, bonds. Be careful so that less they seem to be bringing help, but the idea is to penetrate and keep you bounded. There are countries that once they complain about your country, you are doing something right.
Now hold on to that thought, because you're going to look at critically the things he said in his summation. Even though that's a clip from an entire clip, I haven't seen the entire clip, but at least from the point of what he says here, you can actually give a summation as to his mindset of what has been going on in Nigeria. Now, many pastors have been speaking long before now about the situation that is going on in Nigeria, but you see, when it's coming from where it is actually happening, like Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo, who has been speaking, and we have been discussing about him here on the platform, it becomes indeed more prevalent that his voice would have a strong impact and probably influence an entire wider conversation on this particular subject. Now, the PFN has officially given an opinion, or would I say statement, that what is happening in Nigeria is a genocide. Later, we are going to look at the details of that particular headline as we get to have a deeper conversation on this. But looking at the person of Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo, he recently had a live stream with someone I respect so much on the platform here, Adiola Fayehun, of which he was asked some questions as to what is happening, and his comments were very, very mind-boggling. Let's listen to what he has to say here in this video together. I'm going to wear my headphones, and good day, and I hope you're doing fantastic. Let's listen.
President Trump will do, sir.
To send his soldiers, they should come and help us as they did to Afghanistan, to Iraq. They did that in Iraq. Why can't they do it to us? They declared that two states to be done. The Hamas, the Palestinians. Nobody is coming to help us. But the world went to help. The world went to help the Palestinians and stand by them. But Nigerian government don't want the world to know about what we are passing through as Christians in Nigeria. That is why they came out and said there's no genocide. Imagine the vice president coming to the United Nations saying the issue of Hamas should be looked into it. While we are the Hamas of Nigeria as Christians. Politically, they committed genocide. The president is a Muslim. The vice president is the Muslim. When it comes to politics, the Christian completely, they committed genocide on the Christian. They don't have a say in this government. Only those that can dance to their tune, then they brought them close to cover up that we also have Christian. If he touch the president, he will say his wife is a Christian. Then why not you advise to become a Christian?
Let me
That's
ask you,
hypocrisy.
have you tried to reach the popular pastors in Nigeria? People like Reverend Oyedepo, Reverend Adeboye, Pastor
No, I've
Oyake.
not even tried, and I will not. I've not even tried, and I will not try. Don't they see what is happening? They have members. Let the Holy Spirit convict them to see what we are passing through. When somebody cry out, Trump, come and help us. Let me tell you, this thing happened in Exodus chapter 3 verse 7. When God had the cry of Israel in Egypt, he said, let us go down for have consign for my people in Egypt. Let us go down and help them. And let me tell you, the same thing, Trump saying, let him come down to Nigeria and help. We are crying. God says, I heard their cry. It takes those that have burden to cry out. If you don't have burden, you can't cry out. Even Jesus cry out and say, Father, Father, yes, Abatani, why have you forsaken me?
Okay.
But for me, I'm saying, God, don't forsake us. If we have sinned, forgive us. Save us from the Islamic agenda that is satanic.
Thank you so much, sir. I wish that more pastors, especially popular pastors, would, speak more on the situation of things as you've been speaking. And a lot of people in the comment section, by the way, they appreciate you for all that you've been doing. I also do appreciate you. And more importantly, everybody in the comment section is kind of worried about your safety. I know you made a video that if they come for you, nobody should contribute money and all, but we really need you. We
Yes,
need your
that's the truth.
Yes, but we need you to be able to keep talking. So your security is very, very important, just like everybody else's security as well. But please, people would just like to beg of you to be extra cautious.
So let me explain to you why I make that statement.
Okay.
Let me explain to you why I make that statement. It is part of Islamic agenda to plunder us. And that is the truth. They want to plunder us. They will kidnap Christians. They will ask for millions. And some will go and borrow.
So that was a clip from a recent interview between Adiola Fayahun and Ezekiel Dachemo. Some things I actually observed in the interview, I was reading the comments as well, and people were saying that Adiola was asking questions to set him up. I don't think so, even though she's not in support fully or ideally with the idea of Trump coming to Nigeria, or would I say the threatening of invasion. The question we should be asking ourselves is, if the main problem is the terrorists, and then we have Christians, we have Muslims, and these terrorists are said to also be taking out Christians and taking out Muslims, even though if you know critically that Christians are the ones crying out most of the time, or like Reverend Ezekiel Dachemo is crying out, that the ones that took their plea to the US, which of course you saw Bishop Anabe, we discussed about him, who had taken the situation to the US to really declare Nigeria as a country of particular concern long time ago. The question is, the people that are bringing attention to the issue are the ones that will also be discussed as to those who are being helped in the issue that they're facing. So two people get into a fight, let's say for example, and then one goes to go and report that, oh, this is what is happening. Who do you think is going to be having the attention? The person that went to bring attention to the situation. So yes, of course, Christians have been murdered, Muslims have been murdered, but the question is, who are the ones bringing attention to that particular situation? And the people that are doing the murdering, are they Christians? Have you heard of Christian militias that are doing this? They are doing it, of course, in the name of Islam, whether they come from a particular sect or not, if you understand what I'm saying. So why Christians would say it to be a genocide would be that majority, of course, are Christians. And if some people are able to prove that most are Muslims and Christians, the question is, who are those doing the murdering? That means if a Muslim is killing a Muslim, that means it's actually the reason for that killing is different from just being religious, but probably just to displace them for the reason for which they have in the mineral resources that you see in those particular regions. If you listen to the part where Apostle FEMI LAZARUS was talking about, he was talking with respect to the idea of the resources that Nigeria has, with the whole concept of the US coming, of course, because they want to divide the nation for the resources that Nigeria has. And he made some statements that I would say are not factual if I'm to look at it. Now, in the video before this one, we could see critically from the analysis we did here that with respect to what is happening in Nigeria, moving from Jonathan's administration to Buhari's administration, we could see that that extermination of Boko Haram would have been a successful thing if not for the intervention of the US government in making sure that it's aborted, which demarcates Goodluck Jonathan and makes Buhari, of course, a worthy candidate. And also the involvement of the Nigerian state in making sure that the extermination of Boko Haram does not actually happen based on their own interests. And we also saw in the same video as well that someone that is from the north as well here, a governor, one-time governor in Borno, was named to have been a sponsor of Boko Haram, of course, in the north. So indeed, of course, the security forces, the intelligence in Nigeria knows to a great extent those who have been in the past financiers of Boko Haram, who may not still be because I've gotten their interest, and those who might still be using this particular apparatus or this particular means as a reason for their own political interest. In all, the elites are aware and they are involved in this. The part where Apostle FEMI LAZARUS was wrong in his assertion would be in him discussing and saying that, first of all, it was the US that stopped the purchasing of arms of Nigeria from their country. Now, that was actually for a reason which was based on the Leahy Law, which stipulates that a country that its military is seen to be abusing human rights, or would I say involved in some form of human rights abuse, would not be given such access to having weapons if they are going to use the same weapons to violate human rights. So the military then was being accused for, unnecessary torturing of suspects and non-judicial killings of suspects at that time, which was the reason why that didn't even happen. That was the reason given us at that time for why Nigeria could not really get arms. And the arms that Nigeria actually wanted from the US also included what we discussed in our previous video, helicopters as well, that will also help when it comes to the air defense, mainly for the Nigerian army. So yes, the government were hearing what the people themselves wanted, but the US government, as a fact, of course, did not want to sell arms to Nigeria, which was budgeted as well up to $1 billion or something. Nigeria was actually handicapped in that situation, but Goodluck Jonathan was bent on making sure that this problem is wiped out because, number one, it also, increases his popularity, as we discussed in our previous video, and also makes him a worthy candidacy in dealing with the situation. That is why also you hear Pastor FEMI LAZARUS talk about a particular country. Now, like I said in my previous video, even though the mercenaries, the private contracting mercenaries that were hired from South Africa, like we heard the man himself as well speak in our previous video, it's not as if South Africa is the one that is coming to help Nigeria. No, it was those particular mercenaries, the private contractors that were contracted by a contractor for them to come and help Nigeria, or would I say help deal with the Boko Haram situation. That's why I was saying that the reason why private mercenaries are important is because they don't get to tie them to a particular country. So he was also making a mistake in that, but it's okay. Also, on the other hand as well, when he now said it was just about the US, I think the way Goodluck Jonathan was able to pick his words when he was speaking about the situation of how the US were interfering in Nigeria's own political ecosystem, he was saying the Obama administration or the Obama government, the Obama-led government, because I think it's important to actually have that distinction, a Republican and of course a Democrat. But again, it does not really exonerate the US when it comes to their agenda and how they see Africa. Now, the point where he made, where he said that the richest country when it comes to natural resources is Venezuela. If you look at the ranking as well, you can Google this. Number 1 is Russia. Number 2 would be the US. And then even Venezuela falls in number 10. Nigeria is not even in the top 10. But of course, when you talk about crude, Venezuela is the top. But if you look at all mineral resources in combination, we are looking at Russia and the US. And guess what? If these countries that are rich in mineral resources themselves are strong powers as they are, like we have Russia, like we have the US, if we look at them and how they have been able to operate and be who they are with their resources, what has stopped Nigeria, even though Nigeria is not even in the top 10, what has stopped Nigeria that even with the resources we have, that we cannot be able to be self-sustainable, that even other countries would come to us for aid, like we know in history that we have even helped countries like Liberia also fight their wars and engage in peacekeeping missions. It's because of one thing and one thing alone: corruption of the elite as well, and of course even systemic, even most time of course the people like us, because sometimes we see some things that are even corrupt to be normal in the country. But that is just on one side. So there are different spheres for which the statement by Apostle FEMI LAZARUS as well can be tackled to be wrong, but he made some points as well that were correct. Because if you look at the idea of exploiting Africa, or what I say coming for the minerals as well, if you listen to the comment by the private mercenary himself who fought in the offensive in Nigeria, he made something very clear. When countries are involved in other countries, most times conflict and all of that, it doesn't most times end. Look at the involvement of the US, of course, in Afghanistan. Has it ended? They later left, and then the Taliban, of course, are taking control in whatever they're doing. Look at how much they had spent and invested, of course, in that particular war. That is why when the Trump administration came into power and they were reviewing the USAID, they found out that even monies was coming from the US to fund Boko Haram, to form terrorist organizations. The same US. So again as well here, was that intentional or was that just systemic? Does these particular countries that are in power with the mineral resources, of course, in their rankings, really want other countries that have mineral resources to be in the state of them being destabilized so that they maintain power? Because when Africa does not realize its full potential when it comes to our own resources and how we can actually harness it as well to become powers of our own, then of course we will still be falling prey to the Western mindset. And this is exactly the Western mindset without even thinking through it subconsciously. Listen to this video.
Bringing American capital and expertise and standards to Africa so that we can keep exploiting, so that we can exploring where we can get these minerals.
Now, this was actually a senator in the US, and let me get to look at the context of this particular story. US Senator Todd Young made a Freudian slip about Africa at a hearing of a Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 30th of July this year. Young said, "How can we foster bringing American capital and expertise and standards to Africa so we can keep exploiting, or so we can exploring where we can get these minerals?" See, even though America is targeted, or what I say ranked as well here as number 2 when it comes to mineral resources, they are still looking for minerals in mineral-rich countries. Now, the minerals that America is rich in, is it a mineral that comes from them or minerals that have gotten from other countries with respect to their deals? Them having weaponry and you having minerals, them actually causing destabilization in your country and then coming with their weaponry for your exchange for your minerals. Are we looking at the reserve of what they have as their own in the ground? Are we looking at what they have exchanged their weaponry as for minerals in respect to them helping you fight insurgency. That means as well it can be very calculated, whereby let's fuel insurgency in these particular regions as well where there are minerals. Tomorrow we come with our weaponry, they exchange their minerals for our weaponry, or they exchange, of course, what else? Money for our weaponry, and then of course we come to help them, even though we know that we are the one also funding it from behind. That could be also a hypothesis. Going further right here as well, for the imperialists, Africa belongs to them. The slip comes at a time when West African states have formed an anti-colonial alliance. The military leaders of Burkina Faso and Mali have created a confederation called the Alliance of Sahel States. The countries as well broke away from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which their leaders view as a tool of Western colonial power. Indeed, of course, Burkina Faso leader Ibrahim Traoré in is forthright in his critique, where he says that these imperialists have just one cliche in their heads: Africa as an empire of slaves. That's how they see Africa. Africa belongs to them, our lands belongs to them, our subsoil belongs to them, and they have never changed their framework even today. And that is why as well here, Nigeria is close to Niger. And if you see Niger as well coming out with statements as to those that they know that, you know, governments are actually in support, or some elites are actually in support in funding this particular terrorism. If US wants to come in strategically to be able to be so close to this particular Sahel states as well for whatever they are planning, and we know that of course French military bases of course are being, you know, camped at different strategic locations, because indeed that particular Sahel alliance is not something that they find quite palatable. The goal of the alliance of the Sahel states are to bring in a new currency, the Sahel, build communications and energy infrastructure, invest in agriculture and energy sector, industrialize and allow free movement of persons between Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali, and the final aim is to federalize into one sovereign state. Look at we in Africa, just to moving from Nigeria to Ghana alone. Is it really a free movement? But these are people that are coming together as well for an alliance as well to form a federal state. Are they on the right course, or do we think that we always have to follow the Western playbook? That becomes as well very concerning. So what I'm looking at here in this conversation here, before I get to go on, is that yes, Apostle FEMI Lazarus himself might be wrong in some things he said, but to a great extent as well, there might be some truth in what he said. There has to be a balance. Now, do we need the US, of course, to come in to help Nigeria in what is happening in the north? The answer, of course, right here, I would say is yes, even though I was actually pushing for Nigeria to be declared as a country of particular concern. But look at this period for which Nigeria has been declared as a country of particular concern. What has happened? To the point that even the military officer would go to Reverend Dashimon's church to go and worship with them, to just give them confidence that, okay, things are going to be happening. Watch this yourself.
Praise God. Praise Master Jesus. Okay, I am Major General Fulusho Oilola. I am from Osun State and the General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, as well as Commander Official Nigerian Police. It gives me great joy to be here and to meet you, Pastor. It is really an honor. And I must say that this is the first time I am worshiping outside the palace. So it gives me joy that I am also worshiping here in Uche, in Barakallah. Of course, Pastor is somebody who is very popular, and I purposed in my heart that I had to come and get to meet him. So, sir, really, I'm honored to meet you, and I'm sure we'll communicate better after the service. Now, I want us to realize that the armed forces of Nigeria, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force, the police is your armed forces, it's your army, it's your police. I want you to realize that we are here for you. We are part of you. It's not a case of the army is different and over there and the people are here. We are all mandated to ensure that Nigeria is safe, is secure, and everybody can thrive in it. But we must have peace, because if there is no peace, there will be no development. And by God's grace, that peace, we shall get it. One thing is certain, this crisis has been on for getting to 25 years now. But what we should realize is that in all the parties that cause these problems, we have criminals in every segment. Once there is peace, there are some people who are not happy, because it's when there is crisis that they make money from the woes that they inflict on people. I want you all to realize that, please, Operation Enduring Peace is deployed here to ensure the safety and security of everybody. We are here for all citizens of Nigeria. However, we cannot succeed without input from you. We cannot be everywhere. It's just not possible. But please, if you see something, say something. When you talk to us, I assure you that we are going to respond, no matter the time of the day, no matter where we are. And Pastor, I heard you saying that you are ready to die, put your life. I want to assure you that nobody can kill you until God says it's time for you to come home. And within our own resources, we shall ensure that we do everything to protect you. So you are still going to be here for a very long time. Don't worry about it. So please always reach out to us. You know, now that you are seeing me talking, you know when they say Jews, Jews looks like very, very far away. Look at me here now. I am the Jews. And I'm very sure if I was wearing the uniform and sitting down right there within you, you won't even know who I am. So the fact is that we are all human beings, blood is in our veins, we are the same people. There's no difference between you and I. But I agree the killings have been going on for too long. We will do our best to stop the killings on all sides. Because on all sides you have all these issues. It makes absolutely no reason why a human being should be killed. Lives are too precious, and I assure you that as long as I am the commander of Operation Enduring Peace, we will ensure that we stamp out all the killings, stop all the craziness, and stop all the criminals from doing anything wrong. On this note, I wish everybody very well. May God bless you all and grant your heart's desires in Jesus' name.
And of course, I think Reverend Ezekiel Dakimo would have to be also very careful, because if he is that one voice crying out from the wilderness, that even those who are the rich ones cannot cry out, or their voice have not been very prevalent. And I will tell you one thing for sure, many big pastors, of course, have been speaking. Dr. Paul Eneche, of course, I've seen many videos of him speaking about things happening in Nigeria for a fact. We have as well here Pastor Iyadeboye. You know, he has spoken, of course, recently, even though he has been quiet, because he before normally used to work from behind the scenes. We are going to look at his video in my next conversation. Many of them, of course, Bishop Oyedepo have been speaking long time ago. It goes viral, and then, of course, it doesn't become a conversation. But why Reverend Ezekiel Dachamo's voice is becoming indeed very prevalent as well here, even though some people think that a broke person cannot speak for the body of Christ, is that he is actually at the epicenter of the event. It's different from when someone is in Abuja or in Lagos, where a condition is blowing your brain and you are speaking. Look at someone that used to have a hair full. You don't cut everything down to mala, because indeed, what else do I care for if not for my people? So yes, his church is there, his community is there, and his cry becomes as well more prevalent, because he is the one really facing that particular situation there, if it makes sense as well to you. So indeed, what is happening is very systemic. Trump is not Obama. That's one thing. The last time that Nigeria was declared as a country of particular concern was from the Trump administration. And when even Biden lifted that particular designation, no explanation was given to that. It was even criticized. Why would that designation be lifted? Now let's even look at the whole Buhari and then Jonathan administration play. Because we could see from the video we watched in our previous video, of course, of the interview from the man himself, who was also the contracted mercenary, that what had to happen as well in Jonathan administration had to happen for Buhari, of course, to come to power. Even after Buhari came to power, of course, the Leahy law was still in operation, that Buhari criticized the US government as well for not giving them arms, and saw them to be really aiding and abating the Boko Haram as well, for them to actually exist and do what they're doing, because they don't want to allow them to have the weaponry that they need to actually deal with these people. So even Buhari had to go through the same thing that Goodluck Jonathan went on with, or would I say had to experience. And Goodluck Jonathan himself, he tried very much. That first, the US rejected him, the ability for him to get arms from the US. He had to go through South Africa. That was when that particular story of Pastor Oriji Jaffo's private jet as well found millions found in it. It was not as if it was money that the government was giving to him or something. 2 Nigerians and 1 Israeli was found in that particular private jet. Blocked. Millions of money was actually blocked by South Africa through the banks, and even the money that was seen in cash in the private jet was also seized by the South African authorities. But what Nigeria was doing then was just to make sure that they are able to get arms legitimately from South Africa, even though South Africa also halted that particular means for them, Nigeria, to get weapons from South Africa, since the US was not able to come forth with that. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So indeed as well, it becomes quite appalling that it seems to be that the instability of what is going on in Nigeria doesn't just have the interest of the political elite for their own reasons and why it has to be so, but also foreign interests, because indeed, yes, Nigeria does have resources. But if you want to put Nigeria on that particular top tier, then we don't have to put Nigeria there when it comes to countries that are rich in resources. The question right now is that if the people that are rich in resources are part of the global top powers, why can't Nigeria, as a country that has all these resources? I'm going to go down as well to show you videos that you may not have seen before, from 2020, from 2000 as well, of resources that are in Nigeria that we don't talk about. Lithium as well, name them. And you see how those resources are moving from Nigeria outside. I mean, videos that you say, George, where do you get these videos? Don't worry, I know how to find my stuff. But the idea as well here is for you to know that what is happening in Nigeria doesn't just have the interests of the citizens themselves, the elite, but also foreign interest. So Trump himself saying that he wants to come now, the fear would be that if Nigeria is being given the weaponry as well for them to actually tackle this insurgency, the military itself is actually compromised. I think Trump as well would know this. Because if you look at how Reverend Ezekiel Dachimo talks about what happens, how the military will leave a particular location before an invasion happens or something, you see that the military itself, the country's own military, is compromised in a very deep way. That if Boko Haram repentants are now in the military, are now in the force, who will be the one giving information to the people themselves that, hey, this is what is happening. And now look at what is happening here in some communities. Now bandits themselves, they get to come out with their faces. In the past, in Buhari's time, in Jonathan's time, they used to hide their faces except for the leader. But now they come out in the open, they walk in the open, they drive in the open. Everyone sees them and knows them. And when the governor of Zamfara is saying that these people, we know them, we know where they stay, we know their families, we know their... Indeed, of course, they know who they are. And that's why they can walk freely in this administration. Probably because it's a Muslim ticket we have now, I don't know. But for them to have the boldness to come grant interviews in a sane country, then something is really wrong. And that even when they're granting the interviews, they're holding guns. The police are holding guns, the soldiers are holding guns, and they're even the ones guarding them. And tomorrow, you think you will come out in the open field and be fighting the same people? No, there has been a compromise in the system. What is happening is very systemic. If it will have to take Trump and the SEAL team or the CIA or whatever for them to come and deal with the situation, we have to ask ourselves, what is the price?